Live from New Delhi, you're watching the India News Hour, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 1 hour. US and Ukraine move closer on peace deal. Trump says progress made, but thorny issues remain. Tensions simmer between Venezuela and United States as more US military planes land in Puerto Rico. Taiwan expresses strong condemnation of Chinese authorities disregarding international norms as China's military carries out live firing. North India witnesses cold wave conditions and dense fog. IMD issues orange alert. Advisory for air travellers also released. Good afternoon to all the viewers joining us at this afternoon broadcast. To begin with the latest. Well, US President Donald Trump said on Sunday that he and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky were getting a lot closer to an agreement to end the conflict in Ukraine, though both the leaders acknowledged that some of the thorniest details remain unresolved. Here's more.
The much-anticipated talks to end the Russia-Ukraine conflict took place in Florida on Sunday, where US President Donald Trump claimed that negotiators are getting closer to Ukraine peace deal, though he acknowledged that thorny issues remain and declined to provide a concrete timeline for when they might be resolved. The two leaders spoke at a joint press conference after meeting at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. Trump said it will be clear in a few weeks whether negotiations to end the conflict will succeed. Both men have said that both countries are broadly in agreement about most of the points in the negotiation. Notably, however, both Trump and Zelensky did not offer any timelines, instead vowing to have their teams meet again in the coming weeks. Trump called it a terrific meeting and described Donbass, the eastern Ukrainian territory on the front line of fighting, as an unresolved issue, but said that they were getting a lot closer to an agreement. Trump said that Russia are going to be helping with the reconstruction of Ukraine. He added that he was open to visiting Ukraine, ideally after a deal was agreed.
We had a terrific meeting. We discussed a lot of things. As you know, I had an excellent phone call with President Putin that lasted for over 2 hours. We discussed a lot of points, and I do think we're getting a lot closer, maybe very close. We spoke to all of those great leaders. They're all great leaders, and we had a great talk with them after we were completed. We thought it was appropriate to speak with them, and our meeting was excellent. We covered, somebody would say 95%, I don't know what percent, but we have made a lot of progress on ending that war, which is really certainly the most deadly war since World War II, probably the biggest war since World War II.
Meanwhile, Zelensky thanked Trump for a great meeting, adding that a 20-point peace plan was 90% agreed, calling them the key milestone in achieving lasting peace.
First of all, I would like to thank President Trump for a great meeting at this amazing place in his home in Mar-a-Lago. And we had a really great discussions on all the topics, and we appreciate the progress that was made by American and Ukrainian teams in these recent weeks. And we discussed all the aspects of the peace framework, which includes, and we have great achievements, 20-point peace plan, 90% agreed, and US-Ukraine security guarantees 100% agreed. US, Europe, Ukraine security guarantees almost agreed. Military dimension 100% agreed. Prosperity plan being finalized, and we also discussed the sequencing of the following actions. And we agree that security guarantees is the key milestone in achieving lasting peace, and our teams will continue working on all aspects.
Just before Zelensky and Trump meet, Russian President Vladimir Putin and Trump spoke in a call described as productive by the US president and friendly by Kremlin. Following the meeting, Ukrainian president and other European leaders took to social media to thank US President Donald Trump and welcome progress made on peace negotiations aimed at ending Russia's conflict in Ukraine. Bureau Report, DD India.
And after that, US President Donald Trump spoke over a telephonic conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Sunday for over an hour, describing the conversation as good and very productive. The call, initiated by the US, focused on Ukraine conflict resolution prospects ahead of Trump's meeting with Ukrainian President. Kremlin aide Yuri Ashikov said both the leaders agreed a temporary ceasefire would prolong the war, urging Ukraine to make responsible decisions. The Russian president accepted Trump's proposal for working groups on mediation. They plan another call post the meeting now. So this call particularly was held before the meeting and another is on the track. Putin further noted that Russian advances and no interest in waiting for withdrawals. And to give you a rounded perspective on this, I am now joined by Mr. Ravi Joshi, who is the visiting fellow of Observer Research Foundation, also known as ORF. Thank you, sir. Good afternoon for joining us here on DD India News Hour and especially on this very important discussion. Now, while Donald Trump in his style calls this meeting terrific, thorny issues, they still remain unresolved. And the second very important aspect is of the Donbas region, which is again very contentious. How do you see this meeting making a progressive move with two important issues still on the radar?
Thank you. Okay, then Zelensky says, how do you guarantee my security against Russian invasion in future? So are you going to give a peacekeeping troops here? Is Europe going to keep peacekeeping troops in Ukraine to prevent Russian further marches? And Putin says that's the red line. He does not want any foreign troops in the Ukrainian territory. Now, Russia considers that as an absolutely hostile act by any country. Suppose there are German troops or French troops, he will consider that as a hostile act and he will retaliate against that country. That's what Putin has been saying so far. So now, if peacekeeping troops will not be there, how do you ensure the security of Europe? So this is the question.
That's right.
And there is still a lot of gray area in that. Okay, and the third point is now reconstruction of Ukraine. Where will the funds come from? Okay, so far Europe was considering one plan to completely unfreeze the Russian funds which were there in the European Bank and give it to Zelensky or Ukraine to reconstruct the country. But that was considered as a completely as a theft of Russian property by President Putin, and he has strongly retaliated against that. And he said, I will take not only legal measures, maybe we will take punitive measures against the European banks. So now, finally, what Europe agreed just about 1 day or 2 days ago is that they have not seized the Russian fund, but they have raised their own loan of about $105 million for the reconstruction of Ukraine against the collateral guarantee of European Union budget, which is very different from what they had planned earlier. And this agreement came after a 16-hour-long meeting within the European country.
Right.
Okay, and several Eastern European countries, which are very close to the Russian border, are extremely scared to get into a situation where the Russian frozen funds will be handed over to Ukraine. They know that the consequences for Hungary, Poland, for Czech Republic, Slovak Republic will be very severe. So they were against it, and they were totally opposed to the EU plan of handing over Russian money to Ukraine. So now some kind of a compromise has been arrived at. So these are the major contentious issues which still remain and which are a work in progress.
Very rightly pointed out, Mr. Joshi, and considering all these contentious issues, the peace plan still needs to be discussed with Putin in order to reach an agreement for a common consensus. According to you, can you see the 2026 year bringing in some light of hope in this regard, with Trump already saying that the upcoming weeks are going to be crucial?
Yes, certainly, sir. I now foresee a very optimistic picture on the Russia-Ukraine front because whatever Trump is doing is constantly carrying Putin along with him. And if you saw the recent meetings, he had a 2-hour meeting before a phone call with Putin before he met Zelensky, and he had a 1-hour call with Putin after meeting Zelensky. So he's carrying both the leaders along with him, and I'm very hopeful that the peace deal will be achieved very soon, maybe by mid-January or so. And one more point I want to mention here is that the meetings were preceded by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner with the Ukrainian delegation. And Jared Kushner, when he comes into the picture, there is some serious business interests are involved, either for the Trump family or for some other big corporates in America. And they are looking at opening up the Russian economy, lifting the sanctions against Russia as soon as possible, and starting to do business with Russia. And when the corporate interests are involved, this will definitely get solved very soon.
Which means that we can expect a business deal as well on the sidelines of this peace deal, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. And in fact, when Jared Kushner is involved, you can expect only business deals, nothing else.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Now, another very crucial point is the biggest nuclear power plant, which you also just mentioned. And under the peace plan, the United States, Russia and Ukraine say that they may run it and profit from it jointly, but not yet agreed by both the parties, and especially Zelensky in this case, because he is always apprehensive about the commercial investments and involvements. Now, considering the need of energy right now for Russia and Ukraine and the continuous damage being reported to all these power plants, how much of a loss it may amount to if the delay is extended to another year?
But it will be serious. It will be very serious. If the delay is extended to another year, it will be very serious loss to the nuclear plant as well as to the Ukrainian economy. Ukrainian economy is already bleeding, and it is desperately in need of funding for starting to recover and reconstruct its economy. And any further delay will be suicidal for Ukraine, and Zelensky realizes this. Though the European leaders earlier were asking him to stay strong against the President Trump pressures, now he has understood that there is very little that the European leaders can do, and the main person who will actually deliver any kind of agreement is Trump, and he has now completely fallen in line with whatever Trump is saying. And I see a very serious positive move within the next 15 days.
And also, what could be the possible roadblocks? Because when we are talking about hope, when we are talking about so many progressive steps that both the parties have taken, what could be the possible roadblocks?
The roadblocks are, basically territory. Ukraine for a long time insisted upon its territorial integrity to be maintained. That now he has given up. President Zelensky now realizes that Donbas region has gone out of Ukraine's hands, and he cannot hope to recover that from Russia. Okay, that is now settled in. Now he is only trying to hold on to the territory which Ukraine has got at the moment. That is a large part of Kharkiv and probably Zaporizhzhia and the nuclear plant and the gas infrastructure in that region. Okay, whereas Russia is pushing its troops every day into as much territory as possible. And, territory is always a major roadblock in any kind of a negotiated settlement of a war.
That's right.
And that will remain key, absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ravi Joshi, for joining us and bringing us a rounded perspective to the fruitful talks between U.S. President Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky. Now, U.S. President Trump is also expected to push for progress in the stalled ceasefire in Gaza when he meets with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday for talks that will include Israel's concerns over Hezbollah in Lebanon and Iran. Now, Netanyahu said this month that Trump had invited him for talks as Washington pushes to establish transitional governance and an international security force for the Palestinian enclave. Trump has said he could meet with the Israeli leader soon, but the White House has not confirmed the details yet. Netanyahu said on the 22nd of December that discussions were expected to cover the second phase of the Gaza ceasefire as well as Iran and Lebanon. Now, Washington brokered ceasefires on all three fronts, but Israel is wary of its foes rebuilding their forces after they were considerably weakened in the conflict. And Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro on Sunday praised the country's military as invincible warriors and received a .50 caliber sniper rifle. During a year-end salute to the Bolivarian National Armed Forces in La Guaira, Maduro said the military's values of emancipation and humanism had been strengthened over 27 weeks of tensions with the United States. He also claimed that 2025 had seen the consolidation of Venezuela's national power, not in theory, but on the ground, with popular and military forces united under his defense plan. He described the armed forces as prepared to defend sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Each hymn, each flag, each symbol represent a history of our 200 years because our military have a glorious history as emancipating humanist, invincible warriors. Our armed forces are more prepared than ever to continue winning peace.
Meanwhile, amid simmering tensions between Venezuela and the US, more US military planes arrived in Puerto Rico. The US military has assembled a massive military force in the Caribbean in recent weeks, including an aircraft carrier, fighter jets, and other warships. The United States on Monday announced a $2 billion pledge for United Nations humanitarian aid. President Donald Trump's administration continues to slash U.S. foreign assistance and warns United Nations agencies to adapt, shrink or die in a time of new financial realities. The $2 billion is only a sliver of traditional U.S. humanitarian funding for UN-backed programs, which has run as high as $17 billion annually in recent years. The United States also pays billions in annual dues related to its UN membership. Moving on. In a latest, China has said on Monday that it is conducting major military exercises around Taiwan, with live firing activities to be conducted on Tuesday across 5 zones in waters and airspace near the self-governed island claimed by Beijing. A statement from spokesperson of the Chinese military said that starting the 29th of December, the People's Liberation Army Eastern Theater Command is dispatching its Army, Navy, Air Force and Rocket Force troops to conduct joint military drills codenamed Justice Mission 2025. Taiwan has strongly condemned China's announcement of large-scale military drills around the island, calling them military intimidation and provocative actions destabilizing regional peace. Taiwan's defense ministry has deployed forces to monitor while urging restraint. Moving on. Pyongyang has announced on Monday that it successfully fired long-range strategic cruise missiles into the sea off its west coast on Sunday. The tests aimed at verify nuclear deterrence capabilities, described as a legitimate self-defense measure against the external threats. Now, this follows recent displays of a near-complete nuclear-powered submarine hull intended for nuclear missile deployment. South Korea detected the launches and affirmed readiness via its US alliance. Though not banned by UN resolutions unlike ballistic missiles, the maneuverable cruise missiles pose risk by evading radar. Analysts link North Korea's advancements to potential Russian technology transfers. More tests may proceed next year's Party Congress. Kosovo's ruling party wins vote after a year-long political impasse and delayed key international funding. Prime Minister Albin Kurti's party won more than half of the votes in Sunday's election opening. The vote is the second this year in Kosovo after his party fell short of a majority in the month of February. Months of failed coalition talks prompted President Yusa Usmani to dissolve the parliament in the month of November and call an early election. Now, his party led with 87% of the votes counted after polls closed. Analysts say it is difficult to predict if he will be able to form the government on its own without a coalition to secure the 61 seats in the 120-seated assembly. Kosovo Prime Minister promised he will swiftly form a new government, signalling a possible end to the year-long political deadlock that has paralyzed the parliament and delayed key international funding as well.
Once the results will be certified by Central Election Commission, we should swiftly constitute a parliament out of 10th legislature and then form immediately new government.
On Sunday, polling stations in Guinea officially closed for the country's first presidential election since the year 2021. At several polling stations, officials were seen emptying ballot boxes onto tables and calculating the results. Well, the vote is Guinea's first presidential election since a 2021 military coup that brought junta leader Mamadi Doumbouya to power. The current military leader is the heavy favourite to win a new 7-year term following constitutional changes that allow him to run and extend his time in office. Now, at one of the polling stations in Conakry, officials announced prelim results showing a large lead for Doumbouya. GMD won more than 90.85% of the votes, said polling station Vice President Nebiyaya Bangura. Authorities have said that provisional nationwide results are expected after counting is completed, as attention now turns to turnout, the levels and the overall conduct of the vote. Mexican authorities reported on Sunday that at least 13 people died when an interoceanic train derailed near Nisanda in Oaxaca state. The train carried 250 people, including 241 passengers and 9 crew members. Of those aboard, 193 were unharmed, 98 injured, with 36 received and 5 in critical condition. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum stated on X, senior officials were also sent to aid the victims' families. The Attorney General's office launched an official investigation into the case as well. The 2023 inaugurated train is part of the Interoceanic Corridor project linking the Pacific and Gulf coasts to boost trade and regional development as a Panama Canal alternative. A fire at a nursing home on the Indonesian island of Sulawesi killed more than a dozen people, with 3 others injured. As per local authorities, firefighters received the report of the blaze on Sunday evening. Many bodies of the victims were found inside their room. Authorities managed to evacuate 12 people, all unhurt, and transfer them to a local hospital. On to South Korea now. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung on Monday apologized to the families of the 179 people who died in a Jeju air crash a year ago. Relatives of the victims have demanded answers about the accident after investigators delayed releasing a report on what went wrong on the 29th of December in the year 2024 when the Jeju air jet crash landed and slammed into an embankment at the end of the runway. Relatives of the victims have demanded answers about the accident after investigators delayed releasing a report on what went wrong when the Jeju air jet crash took place. Questions remain about the safety lapses, the design of the runway at the Muan International Airport where the crash took place. South Korea also held a memorial ceremony to commemorate the 1-year anniversary of Jeju air crash, which is the country's worst aircraft accident that killed 179 passengers. Family members of victims and officials attended the ceremony at Muan International Airport that also released a pre-recorded message from President Lee Jae-myung. One person died and 2 were missing after torrential rains flooded Spain's southern and eastern provinces over the weekend as overflowing river beds swept away cars and motorcycles, and the authorities warned the residents to stay indoors. In southern Spain, search parties were seen combing the area grappled with flash floods. Authorities issued red alert warnings in Valencia, where deadly floods in October last year killed over 220 people and caused billions of euros in damage. Over the past few days, avalanche danger along the French-Italian border has risen sharply, following the passage of the weather phenomena known as the East return. Heavy snowfall combined with strong shifting winds has created a high fragile snowpack. Experts say the new layers of snow have failed to bond properly with the older ones, hardened the surfaces, significantly increasing the risk of large and spontaneous avalanches. Authorities have now raised the avalanche danger level to extremely dangerous and life-threatening. Several alpine regions have closed off their areas, ski routes and high-altitude roads as a precautionary measure. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world in brief. 7 Turkish police officers wounded in clash with suspected Islamic State militants in Yalova province on Monday. Police launched an operation on a house near Yalova, which is south of Istanbul, believed to be shelter to the militants. Suspects opened fire as officers moved in, leaving 7 policemen injured, though none in serious condition. The mayor of Colombia's Caribbean coast has announced a ban on traditional horse-drawn carriages after years of complaints from animal rights activists who reported that the tours caused injuries, stress and exhaustion, leading to collapses among the animals. Time for a quick and short break, but still to come on the other side. India-Australia marks 3rd anniversary of India-Australia Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement. More after the break. Indian Navy has inducted INSV Condemns, reviving ancient shipbuilding techniques.
Launch a bombing campaign against Iran. The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse. Is the United States China's debt trap strategy? Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you.
That's exactly what save your.
You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
Always welcoming.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time to quickly recap top headlines of the hour. US and Ukraine move closer on peace deal. Trump says progress made, but thorny issues remain. Tensions simmer between Venezuela and United States as more US military planes land in Puerto Rico. Taiwan expresses strong condemnation of Chinese authorities disregarding international norms as China's military carries out live firing. Well, despite anger and deep divisions within the National Citizen Party over an alliance with Jamaat-e-Islami, Bangladesh's Jamaat-e-Islami has announced a new electoral alliance with the NCP and the Liberal Democratic Party ahead of the upcoming parliamentary elections. Now, Jamaat chief Shafiqur Rahman made the announcement in Dhaka on Sunday, saying the NCP had formally agreed to join the alliance despite its leaders not being present at the briefing. The move has triggered sharp dissent within the NCP. a student-led party born out of the July uprising. Several senior leaders have questioned the alliance, citing article differences and Jamaat's opposition to Bangladesh's independence in 1971. Now, at least 30 NCP leaders have opposed any seat-sharing deal with Jamaat, warning it could damage the party's credibility. Senior leader Tasneem Jara has also resigned and announced that she will contest the election as an independent candidate. Now, the alliance signals a major shift in opposition politics, even as it exposes growing divisions within newer political parties ahead of the polls. Meanwhile, India rebuffed several Bangladeshi media reports claiming two accused in student leader Sharif Usman Hadi's murder had entered India. BSF chief in Meghalaya, IGOP Upadhyay, said that the claims are completely false, fabricated and misleading, and there is no evidence to support them. He said that there has been no such cross-border movement from the Meghalaya sector, and even the Bangladesh border guard has not reported any such incident. Upendra Yadav's Janata Samajwadi Party and Mahanath Thakur's Loktantrik Samajwadi Party have reunited. JSP and LSP are Madhesh-based political parties. Both the leaders signed an agreement to reunify their parties ahead of Nepal's upcoming parliamentary elections. The unification signals major realignment of Madheshi politics and further aims to strengthen the federal democratic republican system and promote progressive agendas like federalism, identity recognition, proportional inclusion and social justice. President Draupadi Murmu today participated in the closing ceremony of the centenary celebrations of Ojshiki script of the Santhali language in Karanti, Jamshedpur of Jharkhand. The President, accompanied by Governor Santosh Gangwar and Chief Minister Hemant Soren, inaugurated the centenary celebrations in Jamshedpur. She attended the award ceremony of the 22nd Parsi Maha and Centenary celebrations of Old Shiki as the chief guest at the Shom Jahir Multipurpose Hall in Karanti. The event, jointly organized by All India Santhali Writers Association and the Shom Jahir Than Committee, marks 100 years of the movement launched in 1925 by Pandit Raghunath Murmu. India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal on Monday said that as India and Australia mark the third anniversary of the India-Australia Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement, the partnership has truly translated intent into impact. Over the past 3 years, the agreement has delivered sustained export growth, deeper market access and stronger supply chain resilience, bringing benefits to Indian exporters, MSMEs, farmers and the workers. India's exports to Australia rose by 8% in financial year 2024-25, helping improve the country's trade balance. As negotiations on the Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement move forward, Minister Piyush Goyal also emphasized that India-Australia Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement continues to achieve India's economic engagement in the Indo-Pacific. He also said the partnership is aligned with the Make in India initiative and the vision of Vikasit Bharat or Developed India by the year 2047, adding that India and Australia are building a future of shared prosperity and trusted trade. Union Home Minister Amit Shah on Monday arrived in Assam's capital Guwahati for a day-long visit. During his visit, Home Minister Amit Shah inaugurated Batatrava Cultural Project in Nagaon district and addressed a public gathering. Home Minister Amit Shah was accompanied by Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma, Union Minister Sarbananda Sonowal and several other BJP leaders. During his address, Home Minister Amit Shah said that he feels honoured to inaugurate the memorial and showcase Srimanta Shankardeva's religious and cultural legacy.
ये नौगांव की पवित्र भूमि पर किसी भी व्यक्ति के लिए आना बड़े सौभाग्य की बात है, परंतु आज मेरे लिए विशेष सौभाग्य इसलिए है कि इस भूमि पर एक महान स्मारक श्रीमंत शंकर देव जी का बना है। इसका आज शुभारंभ हेमंत जी और सर्वानंद जी के साथ करने का सौभाग्य मुझे मिला है।
Another very important development of the day. The Supreme Court on Monday stayed the Delhi High Court's order suspending the life sentence of expelled BJP leader Kuldeep Singh Sengar in 2017 Unnao rape case. A vacation bench comprising Chief Justice Surya Kant and Justices J.K. Maheshwari and Augustine George Massey also issued notice to Sengar seeking his response on CBI's plea challenging the High Court order. The bench said it would examine the matter as it requires consideration. It said Sengar shall not be released from custody following the High Court's December the 23rd order. And in another case, Supreme Court on Monday kept in abeyance the directions in its November the 20th verdict that had accepted a uniform definition of the Aravalli Hills and Ranges. A vacation bench comprising Chief Justice Surya Kant and Justices J.K. Maheshwari and Augustine George proposed to constitute a high-powered committee comprising domain experts to undertake an exhaustive and holistic examination of the issue. The top court said there are issues that will require clarification. It issued a notice to the centre and others in the suo motu matter and posted it for further hearing on January the 21st in the upcoming year. The top court on the 20th of November this year accepted a uniform definition of the Aravalli Hills and Ranges and banned the grant of fresh mining leases inside its area Delhi, Haryana, Rajasthan and Gujarat until experts' reports are out. The apex court had accepted the recommendations of a committee of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change of the definition of the Aravalli Hills and Ranges to protect the world's mountain system. Moving on, INSV Condemns, the Navy's pioneering stitched sailing vessel built using traditional techniques, is undertaking her maiden overseas voyage to Oman on Monday. INSV Condemns project was undertaken through a tripartite agreement between the Ministry of Culture, Indian Navy and Houthi Innovations as part of India's efforts to rediscover and revive indigenous knowledge systems. Inspired by the ancient Indian shipbuilding traditions, the voyage highlights India's rich seafaring legacy, naval heritage and cultural links with the Indian Ocean region. Moving on to weather updates now. A thick white blanket has brought North India to a standstill. From grounded flights in Delhi to an orange alert for dense foggy conditions, the winter chill is tightening its grip. With a fresh western disturbance on the horizon, the next few days promise both snow in the hills and a deepening freeze in the plains. Here's more.
The national capital woke up to a ghost white Monday as a layer of dense fog completely swallowed the city. Visibility dropped to near zero, prompting the Indian Met Department to issue an orange alert. While the sun struggled to break through, temperatures remained biting with a minimum of 7 degrees Celsius. The fog did not just affect the traffic on the roads, it brought chaos to the skies as well. At Delhi's IGI airport, authorities were forced to switch to Cat-3 instrument landing systems to manage flights in the blinding mist. Ministry of Civil Aviation issued an advisory that flight operations at select airports may be impacted, leading to possible delays. Major airlines, including Indigo, Air India and SpiceJet, issued urgent travel advisories, warning passengers of delays and possible cancellations as fluctuating visibility continued to disrupt schedules. The dual menace of freeze and fog has spread through the entire North Indian plains. Isolated areas of Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Bihar are currently reeling under cold conditions. A harsh cold wave is sweeping through Punjab, Haryana, Madhya Pradesh and Jharkhand, where the mercury has plummeted, leaving residents huddled around fires for warmth. Hopes of relief from the dry cold faded as IMD has predicted a fresh western disturbance which is set to hit the western Himalayan region starting Tuesday, December 30th. The system is expected to bring light to moderate rainfall and significant snowfall to Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh and Muzaffarabad. By New Year's Eve, the impact will extend to the plains, bringing scattered rain to Punjab, Haryana and West Uttar Pradesh. Bureau Report, DD India.
And to give you the latest on the weather conditions, I'm joined by Shapir Tar straight from Srinagar. Good afternoon, Shapir. What is the latest weather condition here and what is the latest advisory issued by the government?
Yeah, Kashmir, as all we know, is under the grip of intense cold wave and cold, the freezing temperature is already making, the normal life, very difficult here. But from today onwards, the Met Department has predicted that there will be, a slight change in the temperature as the western disturbances, as we know, in the horizon, and Kashmir is expected to receive moderate snowfall to heavy precipitation in the coming days, starting from tomorrow. So this is on the on the eve of the new year. The Kashmir plain, is particularly Srinagar and its peripheries, are expected to get the white carpet, which is highly expected, and people are waiting for that. So definitely on the new year eve, Kashmir will be blanketed under white carpet, and that will be a cheer for both the locals and tourists alike who have thronged here in large numbers in tourist places like Gulmarg, Sonmarg, and other places. Remember, last week also Kashmir received a good amount of snowfall in its hilly areas and some tourist places like Gulmarg and Sonmarg, where the white carpet is actually giving the Kashmir tourism a much needed relief, because the tourism stakeholders are saying that after the April and following the months when Kashmir saw a slump in tourism, the white carpet in its hilly areas these days is making the tourism breathe a new life, and fresh arrivals are happening, and tourists are enjoying the snow in these places. So from tomorrow, the Met Department has predicted that there will be the rains and snowfall in Kashmir, but that is also bringing, the heavy chill, and the cold wave will definitely have its impact on the normal life, which is getting disrupted owing to the fact that Kashmir is, the Chalai Kalan, which is the 40th day harshest winter, is already in progress, and people are bracing this winter with a lot of preparations.
Right.
And authorities have also issued advisories to the people who are traveling to the hilly areas on the new year to follow the advisories while going to these places. They have been asked to be in touch with the traffic authorities for the advisories and take necessary precautions while going to these places.
All right. Thank you so much, Shabi, for joining us and getting us the latest on weather conditions straight from Srinagar. Time to take a quick and short break, but still to come on the other side. Smriti Mandhana's record-breaking knock powers India to a 30-run victory over Sri Lanka in the 4th T20 International. Usman Dembele wins Best Men's Player accolade at Global Soccer Awards.